Hey guys, it's Brandon Gustafson. Welcome back to Assisted Living Investing. Happy to have you on the channel today. Excited to get into a new conversation about a new topic that I'm really passionate about. But before we get started, I just want to remind you about assistedlivinginvesting.net. Make sure you head over to the website. I've got free resources over there. Subscribe to my newsletter for future content, and would love to see you over there. Also, make sure you give me a big thumbs up, comment, subscribe to these videos, and ring the bell over here. Ring the bell so that you can get notified when new content comes up. And also make sure you follow me on my other social media platforms. I'd love to have you join the conversation in those areas where we can maybe get a little bit more and have a little bit more interaction on your questions and things like that. The last couple of videos, we got into what a facility license is and how you can obtain a license and what that process is like. Today, we're going to get into what is an LLC and other types of entities that you can just kind of be aware of. A lot of people have these types of questions, and so I wanted to definitely get a video out there for you that kind of talks about these, with the disclaimer that I'm not an attorney, I'm not a professional, so any advice that I provide here in this video should not be considered professional advice. You should engage a professional for your specific situation. So this is just information, no recommendations here at all. Please make sure you're talking to professionals as you're trying to get started. But hopefully this will give you a little bit of a base of understanding of what types of entities there are and how to structure your facility so that you can be successful. So first, let's start off with what is an LLC. An LLC, it stands for Limited Liability Company. First off, LLCs do not help you save any money on taxes. An LLC as just like a basic LLC doesn't help you save anything on taxes. What they are intended to do is help provide you with some protection in the event that there's a lawsuit or something like that. We've had instances where we've had issues where our status as an LLC has provided us some additional protection, and it's something that I'm happy that we spent the time and the money to get things in place. So having an LLC does provide you with some extra protection there, liability protection, hence the name. An LLC can also help you look a little more professional and more credible to customers and lenders. You're an official business. It just makes it look a little bit more professional. And LLCs can be structured very flexibly. So you can have just the way that they're managed. You can have multiple people be members of the LLC. There's a lot of flexibility in the way that you can structure your LLC. For example, you could have an LLC as just an individual. You could have it with other people, and you can also do corporations out of those. They're kind of like tax statuses that you elect as an LLC depending on certain criteria. And I'm not going to get too deep into that today. But the next topic that I have for you is an S Corp. An S Corp is another type of an entity that you might hear about as you're kind of doing your research and trying to determine what kind of entity you want to set up. So an S corporation is actually a tax status that you can elect for your LLC. An S Corp can allow you as a business owner to be treated as an employee of the business for tax purposes. So for example, you might be able to deduct certain expenses like health insurance premiums if you have elected to be an S Corp. There are certain thresholds, and I'm not going to get into those. I don't fully understand them myself, but there are certain thresholds that you have to hit in order to elect that status as an S Corp. So make sure that you are talking with your attorney, with your CPA, making sure that you understand everything that kind of goes into that process of being an S Corp before you just willy-nilly go and say, yeah, I want to be an S Corp. Make sure that you understand what is going into that decision so that you are protecting yourself, but also taking advantage of tax law as it's out there. It's very wise for you to understand the different tax laws, have conversations with attorneys, and make sure you understand what you need to do so that you can be successful as you're setting up your entity structure. Another big question that comes out of that I see often is, where should you form your entity? right? And a lot of people want to know that. And if you go to some of these big conferences, they might tell you, oh yeah, you got to set up a Nevada or a Delaware or a Wyoming LLC. That's where you got to do it. My conversations, again, with my attorney is the best spot for you to set up your entity is the place where you are doing business. You're still going to have to file in those states because that's where you're performing business. So like there's really no advantage. Again, talk to a professional, make sure that that's the case for you. But in almost all cases, it's going to be best for you to form the entity in the state where you're performing the business. There might be certain cases where it's advantageous for you to set up an entity in a different state, one of those that I mentioned previously, but those should only be done if you've talked to a professional attorney and you've had that conversation about your specific situation, so that you make sure you're not creating a mess for yourself that you don't need to make. After you've done this once or twice, you'll probably have a good idea of what it takes, and you may not need to use that professional attorney anymore to set up those entities. But in the beginning, I think it's advantageous to spend a little bit of money, make sure you have things done correctly, and move forward with it from that point. Another question that I see is how much does it cost to form an entity? And really that's going to depend on the type of entity that you're setting up, the state that you're in. So make sure you talk to a professional. There are resources on each state, like each state's going to have information on their specific kind of websites and things like that. So that's another great resource that you can look at. Just perform research for your specific state. I would say it's going to be anywhere between $50 and $500 is probably going to be typical for setting up an entity in a state. If you're having a professional do it for you, there's going to be some costs associated with that, so it might be a little bit more expensive. But that's kind of the budget that you could set for yourself as far as setting up the correct type of entity, plus the consult with a professional attorney to get things done. Now, as a bonus, people have also asked me who I have used to set up my entities. So I have used KKOS lawyers, which Mark Kohler is who I've used. But I've also seen a lot of great resources from, I think it's Anderson Associates, and have watched a lot of their videos as well. And so while I've not worked with them, I have worked with KKOS. I really have enjoyed KKOS. Anderson Associates, from everything that I can tell, is quite familiar actually with the assisted living space. Give you a lot of great assistance there. So those would be two that I would recommend having a conversation with to see which one you're comfortable with before you get started. So to recap today, we went over what is an LLC and some other types of entities, specifically an LLC, an S Corp, and then we got into a little bit about where you should form that entity, how much it might cost, and a couple resources, recommendations for you to kind of reach out to and have conversations with a couple of people. Next time, I'm going to get into the legal structure for my assisted living. Just kind of give you a view of how we set ours up, especially because we're out of state, right? And so I'm in Utah and I've got facilities in different states. And so I'm going to kind of share our strategy for how we went through and set up our facilities and give you a little bit of information there as well, and just kind of what we did in our situation. Again, with the caveat that I'm not a professional, so please seek out your own professional help as you're working through the process to set up your entities. Make sure you like the videos, give me a big thumbs up, comment, subscribe. I'd love to see comments. I love interacting with you guys, so would love to see any comments that you have. Make sure you ring that bell so that we can get some information out to you every time that we have new content. You're getting notified of that. It also helps other people find the channel and learn some of this really, what I hope is extremely helpful information for you as you're on your journey to get started in assisted living. Make sure you visit assistedlivinginvesting.net. Would love to see you over there. Have free resources and join my mailing list for future content. And thanks for watching, everybody. I'm happy you were here today. And I just wanted to put something out there, something that I kind of live by. Obviously, I've got my sign over here, dreams demand hustle. But something else that I kind of try to live by is to just remember that it doesn't take a lot. Just doing a little bit of progress is good enough. And so just remember, it's not a lot, but it is a little. Keep going. You can make it. Thanks. Have a good day. We'll see you next time.